So just to continue, I think we started on we ended on the harp of God. This is the book that gives another false prophecies and continues on. There's two books I have. One is older version, one is newer version. One is from 1921, this one, and this one is from 1927, I think, or 25, I think 27, and 1928. So the big difference on those is, you see, they predicted that the world will end in 1914, will start to fall down, and then 1925 supposed to come three prophets, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they're supposed to live here on earth, but it didn't happen. So 1928 they did a little adjustments I'm gonna show you. So the major difference is, you see, the first adjustment they did, the first book says, from 1921, right there, millions now living will never die, because they predicted that the tribulation will start and they will be caught in the air, whatever they thought. But this book is a little different. You see, doesn't have it. See, like this one, those two the same books, this one just doesn't have what the other one. This one says millions will never die. This one empty, doesn't have that. Also, let me review this book little by little. This one on the page right here, on the page 234, it says, these physical facts cannot be disputed and are sufficient to convince any reasonable mind that we have been in the time of end since 1799. So since 1799 we have time of end. And a row below that says, from 1874 forward is the later part of the period of the time of the end. So and from 1874 is the time of the Lord's second presence, as above stated. So Lord's second presence started in 1874. Now we go further, and we have here this right here on the page 244 right here, you see. His presence beginning in 1874, he has carried on his harvest. They speak of Jesus. He has carried his harvest work from 1878 forward, but he has not interrupted the Gentile dominion until that dominion should end. The end of the Gentile rule, therefore, would mark necessarily the end of the present order. Therefore, the end of the world we should expect then to find in 1914 as the beginning of the end of the old world or order of government. Okay, so we should expect then to find 1914 as the beginning of the end of the old world or order of government, depends how you call it. And also it is here on page 333. on page 333 here. It says, the proof cited herein shows that the old world social and political order ended and began to pass away in 1914, and that this will be completed in a few years, and righteousness fully established in few years. So this is 1921, so anytime now. But now we see why in few years. It says right here on a page 339 of this book. On a page 339, we see now why in few years, because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the other faithful prophets described by the Apostle Paul in Hebrews, and blah blah blah, they go on here. Hence these faithful men may be expected on earth within next few years. Within next few years. But here's the problem, you see, this is 1921 when this book was printed, and this is 1928, and this 1925 when this prophet should come is gone. So that's why this book doesn't say millions will never die, and also have a little adjustment right there. Also have a little adjustment right there when it said the Abraham and Jacob and Isaac will come in next few years. This book says on page 346, actually, this book is a little bit smaller format. So in this book, it is different page, but is the same paragraph. In this book, it is page 339 and 34. But in this book, since this one is a little smaller or bigger, maybe bigger, this one is smaller. This one has page 346. And instead of saying that they will come, the three prophets will come in few years, they say, hence this faithful man may be expected on earth at the inauguration of the new covenant. So they skip this few years because now it's not certain when it's gonna happen. They just say in the inauguration of the new covenant. So now this is it about those two books. I'm gonna show you one more thing in those. Here's the little cheat sheet book. This is the book. It's called Reasoning from the Scripture. Reasoning from the Scripture. I would suggest you try to get this book on eBay. I found this on in Goodwill, but you can try on eBay or somewhere else. What it is, this is a very thin book, but very compact. A lot of very thin pages, like in most of the Bibles, and it has almost 500 pages. And all it is a manual for Jehovah Witnesses to witness to other people. So they use this book with all the questions and how to answer to unbelievers, you know. And they have those things, and just two interesting things I just was going through. I just found we were speaking in previous videos about they believe Jesus Christ is an angel. So this book says here, reasonably then the Archangel Michael is Jesus Christ. So that's what they say. And also they say this. Thus, the weight of the evidence indicates that Jesus died on the upright stake and not on the traditional cross. And to show the proof of that, They use their Bible. So this is the book. This is the reasoning from the scriptures. So get this one is good to have if you will witness to them a lot. But because they don't believe now that Jesus died on a cross, they use their Bible, the older version, but that was after this book, the Holy Scripture, New World Translation, and they have this on the end, this picture right here. You see, that's the Jesus on the stake, according to them. And but unfortunately, they missed the fact that in this book, right here, is this. See, I have this piece. Right here is this. So now if you look at this book and that book, you ask yourself questions, who's confused? Someone must be confused, because those are books of the same organization in a different time periods, but they totally contradict each other, because he died once, not twice, so one of them must be false. Okay. So here it is, and that's what is happening to them. There's a lot of false teaching and twisted and contradictory and all those. There's a book, True Peace and Security. From what source? Here you go. This is the book right there. All their books are very small, which is good because they can put them in packets or whatever. And on page 88 of this book, right here, see, I have this. They kind of mellowed down this. This is book from 1973. Okay, they mellowed down a little bit this 1914 beginning of the end, because now we have a 73, so they try to look better. They say for these things to take place within generation would mean that persons who were on hand to observe what happened in 1914 at the beginning of the conclusion of the system of things, which is the beginning of the end of the world. That's what they called in the different book. And remember the other book, this book right here, millions now living will never die again. I mean, will never die, not again. Millions now living will never die. That's 1920, right, or 21, and they were predicting that, yeah, 1920, and they were predicting that millions will never die, but now they kind of washed it down a little bit, so it doesn't look that bad, because obviously there's not many millions left in 73, so they say the person were on hand at that time, beginning of the end. Now, would still move to be alive. So let me read it one more time. For these things to take place within a generation would mean that that persons who were on hand to observe what happened in 1914 at the beginning of the conclusion of the system of things, which is the end, would still have to be alive at the end of this period. But now is running out of time. So when the Great Tribulation strikes, those who remember the events in 1914, what events? No clue. There's no events, but I believe there were some events in 1914. So those who remember those events in 1914 are getting up in years now. Many of their number have already died. But Jesus assured us within this generation, before they have all died, destruction of this wicked system of things will come to end. So A little mellowed down, but it didn't take long. Didn't take long for them to produce this book. Whew. This is Life Everlasting in Freedom of the Sons of God. And this book is printed in the year. This book is printed in the year 1966. But this one was printed in 1973. So the book before it. Look what they say. I mean, they're so confused. They're so confused. Look, 1966. What does it say? It says this right here on page 28 and 29. Page 28 and 29. What do we find here? We find this. Since the time of Ussher, intensive study of Bible chronology has been carried on. In this 20th century, an independent study has been carried on that does not blindly follow some traditional chronological conclusions of Christendom, and the published timetable resulting from this independent study gives the date of man's creation as 4026 BC. Now listen to this. According to this trustworthy Bible chronology, 6,000 years from man's creation will end in 1975, and the seventh period of 1,000 years, the tribulation of human history, will begin in the fall of 1975. We have 2015. Another false prophecy. And then 2 pages further, they give you a little like a table of things that just happen, and this and this. And look at the end. What is on the end? What happened here in 1975? Millennium starts. It says end of 6,000-year day of man's existence in early autumn. That means in the fall. So 1975, the end. So here we go. But now let's go back to those books. To these books. Okay, let me get to these books. Because in here, you see those books here, we had in the previous video that we stopped on accidentally. Go back and watch it because it's very interesting. There's a lot of material I'm showing. It's just like you can get those on eBay actually. This book, you see, those books, like I said before, they were written by Charles Russell in 1899 or 88. And they were all reprinted in 1937, and they were all adjusted by adding notes to the back explaining why all those things didn't happen. So kind of like, and actually they condemned one of the leaders, the second leader of the club, of the Watchtower, which is J.F. Rutherford. And I tell you why they condemned him. But before that, I read you this. You see, they realized, because he's the one who wrote this book, the Rutherford wrote this book, and he wrote this book. Those books predict coming of prophets Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac in 1925, and in 1914, the end of the world, and all those things, and it didn't happen. So 1937, when they reprinted those books, they added those notes, and on the back of the books are the notes. And for example, like this one, on a page 366 or 367, we have this appendix, note 1, for pages 33 and 62. It says this: the following letter, written at Chicago, Illinois, June 7, 1914, to our pastor, and I believe, I don't know which pastor was it, by the so one more time. The following letter, written at Chicago, Illinois, June 7, 14, to our pastor by the editor of this book, is here given to refute some criticism alleged as proofs that our pastor's chronology, particularly as it relates to the times of the Gentiles, is wrong. Oh, so this is about Pastor Russell, his time of, you remember the pyramids and all this, 1914. This is wrong. So they admit, and they actually write this here, and then the note goes on and says about what's going on and why it was wrong, but they didn't really condemn Russell yet. They just like try to explain him. Okay, so this is the one thing. But then there is another thing that is right here, that Pastor Rutherford got in problem. Because you see on the end of this book here, on a page 365 and 364 right there, see, we have a letter after recognizing that his prophecy didn't go well. They write this: in January 15 March, in the January 15 to March 15, 1930, J.F. Rutherford has a long article entitled Jehovah's Royal House that literally swarms with errors. You see? J.F. Rutherford has a long article entitled Jehovah Royal House that literally swarms with errors. And a little bit further says, hence that he teaches that in this life we are born to the Spirit and are spirit creatures. They hate it because they don't believe that. See, and then that was actually biblical what he was saying, but that's besides the point. What else he said? He says here, hence these two meanings refer to two different things which in human generation begin at the same time but are completed 9 months apart. J.F. Rutherford is entirely wrong. Again, J. Rutherford denial that there are acts of the blah, 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 blah. So they agree, how you call it? They accept the fact that they are wrong, so they try to clear themselves up, so they try to condemn those before them. But this is not the end of the story. Let me show you one of the last things before we end this video, because we had this and this. Right, okay. Now, here is funny part. Here is the funny part. Here we go. I don't have original documents. If you search, if you go on eBay or somewhere else, you can get original documents. Okay, I printed this from the website, but I know it's true, and you can search it. You'll realize how true it is. This is the word, Bet Sharim, and this is the building right there. Okay, Bet Sharim. This is the inside, and here is the cars. Here are the cars and the building, and let me read because there's the juice of it. Look, Rutherford, the second president of Watchtower, he messed them all up. He was very smart man. He just crooked like nobody else. He made those false prophecies, right? And he cashed on them. He made Watchtower build a house for those 3 prophets that's supposed to come, and he made them build this house so they can come and live there. But until then, he decided to move in to keep it up. So Watchtower built a great building that was on, I will read here, probably on 100 acres or something like that, and he paid $10 for it. $10, $10 for building with 10 bedrooms. He lived until he died over there, just because he was keeping up the building. If the prophets come, he will move out and give this house to them. But he lived there. So let me read this article because it's funny. Look, Bet Sharim, House of the Princess, is a 10-bedroom mansion in San Diego, California, constructed in 1929. Look, the prophecy is supposed to come true at 25. The prophets should come. How he was able to so blind these people from Watchtower, how he was able to like just damn them to still trust him and build this house for him. I don't know. Listen. So, House of the Princess, in a 10-bedroom mansion in San Diego, California, constructed in 1929 in anticipation of various resurrected Old Testament biblical patriarchs or prophets such as Abraham, Moses, David, Isaiah, and Samuel. So they added to it. It was maintained by the Watchtower Society. So they maintained it too. And he was living there. The parent organization used by Jehovah's Witnesses and was also used as a winter home for executive office for Watchtower President Joseph Franklin Rutherford. In 1918, Watchtower publication began predicting Rutherford, under the direction of Rutherford, that Old Testament patriarchs or princes would be resurrected back to earthly life in 1925. But they built it in 1929. How smart! Anyway, it was thought that these princes would become Earth's new leaders, and their resurrection would be a prelude to the inauguration of the new earthly society and the abolition of death. It had previously been thought that these individuals were to be raised shortly after 1914. These princesses would use Jerusalem as their capital, which some of the princesses being located in order to principal parts of the earth. Despite the failure of these predictions, Rutherford continued to preach their imminent return During this time, Rutherford spent winters in San Diego, California for health reasons. It's summertime, wintertime mansion in California, San Diego. Just how cute, how good Watchtower is. And in that time, a direct contribution was made for the purpose of constructing a house in San Diego for Brother Rutherford use. The property was acquired in October 1929 by Robert Martin and was given to Rutherford in December for the nominal fee $10. Current equivalent $137, which might be $150 now. That's a couple years old. The house was built in that year. Rutherford named the property Beth Sherim. Beth Sherim. Check on internet. Beth Sherim. That's how you spell it. Beth Sherim. And so he named it Beth Sherim. Old Testament princes who were now expected to be headquartered in San Diego instead of Jerusalem. The deed for Beth Sherim written by the Rutherford said that the property was to be held perpetually in trust for the Old Testament princesses and was to be surrendered to them once they arrive. Of course, I will give it to them as soon as they come and move out, said Rutherford. It was located in Kensington Heights section of San Diego. Kensington Heights section of San Diego, over an area of about 100 acres, landscaped with olive, date, and palm trees, so that the princess would feel at home. So Rutherford too. The Richard Rega is an architect. Oh, the architect of this house was Richard Rega. It is a 10-bedroom Spanish mansion with an adjacent two-car garage. The building cost at that time were about $25,000 at that time. Writing in the book Salvation in 1939, Rutherford explained that Beth Sherim would forever be used to the resurrected princesses. Wow. Rutherford moved into Beth Sherim in 1930, so he spent beautiful years over there and served as a character of the property awaiting the resurrection of the princesses. Newspapers of the time reported on Rutherford's lavish lifestyles. Really? Which included a 16-cylinder Fisher Fleetwood Cadillac Coupe. Really? Alright, so this is the second president of Watchtower, J.F. Rutherford. And when they found out what is happening to them, how he is stuffing them in a bag, in this book right here, printed in 1937, but this book is, remember, written by Charles Russell in 1899, but they reprinted in 1937, and they add those little notes on the back. Remember, like they did before, about trying to explain why the prophecies didn't go on and all this. Now in this book, they have a note that is 17 pages long. 17 pages. Look, this is 17 pages long notes, And that's what this book says. Look at this. That would be funny. Here, we are confident that... Okay, so this is written by the Society about Rutherford to the Board of the Judgment. Okay, Society's Board of the Judgment. And here it is. We are confident create such a situation as will force J.F. Rutherford out of all positions of the power and influence in the truth. In this note, we give a condensation of the first of the three. We believe to be unanswerable proof that he is that evil servant, Rutherford, evil servant, page 658, evil servant right there. But that's not it. Page 661, it says, it is both a warning to J.F. Rutherford and is a prophecy that he would do certain wicked things and consequently undergo certain punishments. All right. Now we go next page, 62. J.F. Rutherford is the only one whom the description fits. Undoubtedly, he is called evil because he is wicked. He's called evil because he is wicked. Oh, poor J.F. Rutherford. Here we go further. Under 6 heads, we will enumerate some of J.F. Rutherford errors, which prove him to be eating and drinking with the drunken. And here is the finish of the note. Here we go. The reason why J.F. Rutherford is greatly condemned by the Lord is that he is that evil servant who says in his head, my Lord delayed, who smites his fellow servant, and who eats and drinks with the drunken companion in evil. All right. So this is Watchtower Society, the Jehovah Witness for you. Pray for them, witness to them, make sure that they know the truth. Don't be afraid using their Bible. They are poor people who need Christ, and they are lost, completely tunneled, enclosed in this corrupt society and organization that is called Watchtower Jehovah Witness, Watchtower Association. Witness to them as much as you can. I beg you, in the name of Christ. Christ needs them for his glory. So go ahead and talk to them, call them to witness to you, and use this opportunity to witness to